Kakadosh Boker Or Masechet Nazir Daf Gimel Amud Aleph 63a1. We are at the Mishnah. The Mishnah says Nazir Shegilach Venodalo Shehu Tameh. Imagine a Nazir comes and he does the giluach, which means that he comes and he does the hair cutting, right, towards the end of his Nazirut. And then he found out that he was Tamemet during his Nazirut. So imagine, you're finishing the process, you think, Baruch Shepatarani, that's it, you're done. And also you realize, 1 second, I became Tameh. Yeah, that's what he realizes. So, im tum'ah yedu'ah, if it's going to be a tum'ah, which could have been known to people. So, for example, there was a met that was buried, on the path that he passed by. Soter, it destroys all his nezirut, and again, he has to start again, the nezirut. Ve'im, and if, tumat tehom, which means a tumah, which is nisteret, which means that you could know that nobody knew that, somebody was there. And also soter, it's not going to be soter. Iman shelo gilach, and if it was that until he did not do any type of giluach, right? That means he didn't do the haircuts or he didn't bring the korbanot. Ben kul bechach soter. It's always going to be soter. Okay. So here there's a special leniency that if it was tumat tehom, which means that you basically could have nobody really knew that there was a tumah over there, and the guy already finished his nezirut and then he took off his hair, he's going to be okay. It's not going to be soter. So that is going to be a leniency, right, with tum'ah. Ketzad, what is the tumat tehom? Yeah, what is the case of tumat tehom exactly? Yara lidbol b'me'ara. Imagine right now you go and you do tevilah in a me'ara, right? You became tameh sheretz, right, of a bug. And you went into a me'ara, you went inside of this pit in order to come to do tevilah. And in some met, right, saf al pi me'ara. Now what happened was a cave, like it's a cave, but no, but inside the cave, usually there used to be like the thing of the Arizal. It was inside a cave. There's like a me'ara, there's like a stream of water, nachal, and you could do tevilah there. So you do tevilah for mikveh. Yeah. So what happens? Afterwards, you found the kazait of the deceased, right? Saf al pia me'ara, which is going to be there. Now we have a doubt whether the met was inside during the time of the tevilah, right? And therefore it was an ohel or not. So tameh. But if it was going to be inside of the floor of the me'ara, right? So therefore it all depends. If he just went down to take a quick bath, as they say, like a cold shower, so then it's going to be tahor. But if it's going to be tahor of tumat met, tameh. Shecheskat tameh. Because a person that already has a chazakah of tameh, he's tameh. Cheskat tahor. Chizkav, a person that's tahor, is going to be tahor. Shiraglaim nadavar, because we have raglaim nadavar, which means there's such a thing called a status quo. Status quo. I leave you on your status quo. If you were tahor, so I leave you tahor, because in order to contaminate you, I need much more of a power, right? Because you are already right now tahor. But if you're already tameh, it's very easy for me just to say you're still tameh, because you were tameh before. The status quo was you're tameh. So I just say, leave it on the status quo. You're still going to be tameh. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara. How do we know these words that tumat tehom is not going to be soter the nezirut? Amar Rabbi Elazar, says Rabbi Elazar, it's a pasuk. V'chiyamut metala befeta pitom. If somebody is going to die, befeta pitom, alav. What does it mean? V'chiyamut met alav, on him. What is on him? So he says memechuveret lo. It means a tum'ah which is brurad, which is known to him, right? And therefore, if it's not going to be known to him, it's not going to be soter the nezirut. Okay? The Shakish comes and he says, Amakrat, a pasuk. Right? When a person is going to be tameh, right, for a person, or on a path which is very far away, ki derech, just be like a derech. Ma derech bagalui. Afkol bagalui. Just like the derech has to be something which is revealed, right? When you're traveling, you see what's in front of you. So too the deceased has to be something which is going to be in front of you. So therefore the Shakish comes and he says there's another pasuk that teaches you that tumat tehom is not mitameh. Yeah? Remember, tumat tehom means that you cannot see, or nobody could have known there's going to be a tum'ah over here. Okay? The Ella, but says the Gemara had it, and that which we learned in the Mishnah. There's a braita here actually. Oh, okay, it should be a braita. Okay, so he says, Ezuhi tumat teom. What is tumat teom? Kol she'eno makira echad besof haolam, which means that basically nobody knew whether it was there. That means here it's telling you what is considered tumat teom. Teom is the abyss. What do you mean? Nobody knows that there was a tumah over there. So he says that even if one person knows it, besof haolam, in the end of the world, it's not tumat teom. I understand it's like going to be like derech, like derech, shapir, it's going to be okay, right? Why? Because if somebody knows about it, so then it's already going to be like a derech, it's going to be galui, it's going to be revealed. But according to the mandamar that says, it has to be known, what do I care if one guy knows about it? One guy knows about it is nothing. One guy knows that there's tumah over here. The two, and furthermore, how do you tell me we learned it right? Imagine you find a deceased that he's buried, right, underneath the road, but he's going to be lying down in the rochav, right, of the derech, which means that it was impossible, right, to go over it without doing an ohen, meaning it wasn't straight and you're walking straight, so maybe you walked a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. It was this way, and you're walking, and that means it's impossible that you didn't pass over, right, this deceased. So he says, bitruma, to do with eating truma, it's tameh. But to do with nazir and asiyah pesach, you're going to be tahor. Maishna, what's the difference between truma and nazir and doing the pesach? Why is it that nazir and doing the pesach you're going to be tahor, and the truma you're going to be tameh? So since the Gemara, you're right. And therefore, since it was only said by nazir and korban pesach and not to do truma, that it's not going to be mitameh. It means it's not like a pasuk or something that you could start arguing back and forth. No. Okay? Fine. 2 dots. If you did not take a haircut, so then you're always going to destroy, right, the nezirut. Okay? Mantana, who's the Tana that says this? Rabbi Yochanan says, he says, Rabbi Yochanan, that he says that tiglachat stops a person from drinking wine and being metameh metim, which means even though you finished the nezirut and you brought the korbanot, but you did not take a haircut, you're still not allowed to be metameh metim or to drink wine, because the tiglachat, which is the haircut, which happens usually before the korbanot, that is like one of the processes in order to purify you, in order to be able to come and to be metameh metim or to eat or to drink wine. Okay? So Bayed comes and he asks the following question: Nitma betoch melot. Imagine a person comes and he becomes tameh, right? Betoch melot, which means within the nezirut. Nodalo, but it was only known to him after the melot. Meaning, he became tameh in the middle of nezirut, but he only found out about it at the end of the nezirut. Meaning he finished. And all of a sudden now they come and they tell him, he's like, we never knew that. No, afterwards, mamash, after the melot. Sorry. It's after the melot, but before doing the haircut. Okay? So he says, what's halacha? Batar yediyah, and do we go after the knowledge? The yediyah rachamelotu, and the knowledge was after you already finished the term, as they say, right? The nezirut. Or maybe no. Ulmai. So says the Gemara, what's the nafkamina? So he says, lemitzad, to know how many days does it going to destroy the nezirut? Because if we go after the time that he became tameh, he has to destroy all of the nezirut. But if we go after the shata yediyah, he only has 7 days, because the yediyah was after the melot, so it's only 7 days that it becomes, right, contaminated. Okay? Samakim Lemubet, 63b. So says the Gemara, Rava comes and he says, Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. He said, if a person does not take a haircut, doesn't matter what happens, it's always going to be soter. Hechidami, what's the case that it's always going to be soter? If he already knew about it, do you have to say that? Obviously. Rather, we're talking about after the nezirut. Shmamina, that's the case. So we're talking about after the nezirut. Okay? But it's still going to ask you, kulo soter or shiva soter? Is it going to destroy everything or only 7 days? So Liman, who does it go like? If you're going to tell me it's going according to the rabbis, that they say that a nazir that becomes tameh after melot, you still are soter the shoshim yom. So pshita, obviously, the kulo soter, it's going to destroy everything. But the Rabbi Eliezer, if it's going to Rabbi Eliezer, kol achar melot shiva soter. Only if it's going to be after you finish the nezirut, so therefore it's only going to be soter 7 days, not anything more than that. So Malecha, he's going to tell you how to mean one of these words, right? He says only if you did it after the melot. Here it's before the melot because you didn't cut off the hair. Or Dilmar, maybe it's different over here. That this is considered the idea after melot, and therefore, right? Since it's after melot, it could be that it's not soter unless it's going to be only 7 days. Umina. So he says, and from here we learn Tani benkach ubenkach soter. He says whether it's going to be in this case of tuma yudua or tuma tetuhom, it's going to be soter the nezirut, and it's not arguing, which means that he's not being mechalek, right? Whether it's before the haircut or after the haircut. Fine. So Tanu Rabbanan, we're going to learn in the Braita. Imagine right now you're walking on the path and you found a deceased that's buried on the path, but on the rocha, on the width of the path, not on the length, on the width of the entire path. What do we say? We say litruma, it's going to be tameh. When Nazir will say Pesach, it's going to be tov. But one of these words, if you have no way of passing on the path, and you will be tahor. But if you have a path to go, so for example, let's say you have a 2-lane street, one for each direction. So the met has to be big enough, right, or tall enough that there's no way to pass on the path without going over him. But if there's paths that I could go over, meaning it's not a sidewalk. Let's say a sidewalk is much more, because when you're talking about a 2-way street, already the car, just the lane in itself probably is almost 1 lane is probably already enough to be as tall as a human being, or even a little bit more. No? I think so. Because remember, we're putting the deceased like this, and it's 1 lane. So even 1 lane could be that it's already big enough that there's a little bit of room on the sides or on somewhere, you understand? But for sure, if it's 2 lane, there's nothing to talk about. But let's say even the sidewalk. So sidewalk is much short, much narrower. Yeah? So what happens? So here he says, it's only that there's nowhere where to pass, then you have to pass over the deceased. But if you have a place to pass, right? So then even for truma, you're going to be tahor. Right? But meduvuni, one of these words, shemetzol shalem, only if you found the deceased that he's whole, intact. Aval mishubarum furak, but if he's going to be broken, right, or in pieces, even if there's no place to pass by, because chashin and shema ben aprachinova, maybe you pass by, like different body parts or whatever it is. Meaning, if the deceased is intact, so you have on the sides, or maybe he's buried on the side, and you have, that you're able to pass by. But if it's going to be in the middle, right, or for example, he's in pieces, so maybe you're walking, in between pieces. You understand? Fine. Okay. Uve kever. Now we're talking about, right, that it's a kever satum, and the kever was actually there. Afilu mishubarum furak tameh. It's always going to be tameh, right? Even for tuma and everything. Even though I could say that maybe you went in the, there was a part of the kever that was empty, right? Because the kever is going to be mitzaref, right, one to another. So he says, because the kever is going to be mitzaref oto. One of these words, only if you're going to be walking with your feet. But if it's going to be that you're riding or you're going on an animal, then it's going to be tameh, or you're carrying something. Right? So he says, because it could be that maybe if you're walking with your feet, it could be that you didn't touch the deceased, so you didn't walk over, you didn't do a hole over it. But it's impossible if you were riding. One of these words, the tumat tehom, the tuma yidua, shoshan tamim, they're all going to be tamim. What is tumat tehom? Nobody knows about it. But if even one person knows about it, it's not going to be considered tumat tehom, but rather tumat yidua. Okay. What happens if the deceased is hidden in grain or in stones? So that's going to be tumat tehom. Bayamin, right? If it's going to be that it's in waters, like bodies of water, uba'afela, or in a dark place, in kiyas salim, or in different parts of like stone, it's not tumat tehom. It's only going to be to do with the met, but not to do with any other type of tum'ah. So if it's going to be other types of tum'ah, it's only by a tumat met that there's tumat tehom. Okay, 2 dots. Says the 2 dots. Keitzad, what is tumat tehom? If you went down to do tevilah, so he says safa. If it's going to be safa al pinei hamayim, there's going to be kazait from the met, which is going to be floating on the water. Yeah. So therefore, he comes and he says, "Eno mitamiyah." It's not going to be mitamiyah to do with the sheretz. The Tanya was learned to the Braita. Safek tumat safa. If you have a safek tuma, which is going to be tzafa, ben b'klim mikaka, whether it's going to be in a utensil or on the ground, teorah, it's going to be teorah. Shimon says if it's going to be b'kelim, it's going to be tumia. B'kaka, it's going to be teorah. My time in Tanakama, what's the reasoning of Tanakama? Says the Gemara Rabbi, it's written mechol sheretz hashoretz. Kol makom shu shoretz, any place where the creepy crawlers could be, and even if it's going to be on top of water. Uchtiv al aretz, mechol sheretz hashoretz al aretz. Hakait said, what's the case? If you for sure touched it, right? Which means if for sure you touched the sheretz with tahor, so he's going to be tameh, doesn't matter where the sheretz is found. But if it's a fake megov, you have a doubt if you touch the sheretz or not, it's going to be tahor. We continue with Hashem tomorrow.